Each year, as a nation, we come together on the last Monday of the month of May to observe Memorial Day and honor those who gave the last full measure of devotion to protect the ideas and values of our United States.
Originally conceived as Decoration Day following the closure of our country's Civil War, Memorial Day was born in the tradition of cleaning and decorating the graves and markers of fallen Union soldiers after the last winter snow had melted. Wisconsin families went to their churchyards and cemeteries, washed the stones, tidied the plots, and decorated them with spring flowers.
Like the other 49 states, Wisconsin is no stranger to the toll of war. Our sons and daughters have continually answered the call of war since joining the Union in 1848. Over 26,000 Wisconsinites have paid the ultimate sacrifice in America's wars.
I remember helicopter pilot Scott Alwyn, a native of Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Alwyn spent 5 tours of duty in Vietnam from 1967 to 1972, serving in one of the most dangerous assignments of the war. He is believed to have clocked more airtime than any other American in the war. He was awarded many military honors, including 2 Bronze Stars, a Distinguished Flying Cross, and a Purple Heart. Alwyn received a field commission to the 2nd lieutenant and was promoted to captain. Scott Alwyn was killed by a drunk driver in 1976, but his memory will live on as the sacrifices of our military men and women are remembered.
I remember hearing stories about my Uncle Tim, a son, a brother, a friend, an uncle who died too young serving our nation. Unfortunately, like so many others, I only ever had the opportunity to know my uncle through these memories, as he sacrificed his life serving our country in Vietnam. Today we remember the bravery and sacrifices of those whose lives were taken too soon.
I remember Warrant Officer David Robert Kink, who served as a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. He graduated from Middleton High School in 1967 and worked for the Hub clothing store in Madison before entering the Army in 1968. He completed his aviation training at Hunter Stewart Air Force Base in Savannah, Georgia, and arrived in Vietnam in June 1969. David died August 3, 1969, of injuries received in a helicopter crash on July 21st. He was 19 years old.
I remember Army Reservist Specialist Rachel Hugo, 24, of Madison, who was killed on October 5th in Beiji, Iraq, when insurgents attacked her unit using an improvised explosive device and small arms fire.
I remember Joshua Scott, who is a veteran who died in the Iraq War in 2005. Josh left 2 children and a beautiful wife, and I was holding his son in the assembly chambers, thinking to myself, this boy should be held by his father, not me. But what a wonderful remembrance of a beautiful person and a great hero. I also remember a classmate of mine, Freddie Fritz Suckamel, who died in the Vietnam War in the early 70s. Freddie was a marvelous left-handed pitcher and was bound for great things in the baseball world, but unfortunately his life was cut short. Both of these men bring to mind to me how wonderful it is that we have men and women willing to sacrifice their lives for the safety and security of our country. I remember them well, and I'll never forget them or their families.
I remember Army National Guard Sergeant Andrew Wallace, age 23, of Oshkosh, who died September 26, 2005. He was killed by a roadside bomb while riding in a Humvee near Basra.
I remember Staff Sergeant Daniel D. Bush. Staff Sergeant Bush grew up in my community, attended school with my siblings, and attended our community's church. His high school goal was to serve our country in the Army's elite Delta Force. On October 3, 1993, Staff Sergeant Bush, the Delta Squad, and helicopter were shot down by enemy fire in Mogadishu, Somalia. After the crash, he immediately exited the aircraft, took control of a key intersection by himself, and provided suppressive fire against overwhelming enemy forces. In those actions, Staff Sergeant Bush saved his fellow team members, but lost his life. I'm speaking today to honor not only Staff Sergeant Bush, but every military member who has served and given their life for our country. Their service is not forgotten.
I remember Marine Reserve Staff Sergeant Chad Simon of Monona, who sadly passed away in August 2005 from injuries suffered by a roadside bomb while proudly serving our country in Fallujah.
I remember Specialist Stephen Christofferson, age 20, of Cudahy, who was killed by a roadside bomb on April 21, 2008. And this Memorial Day, I will keep his mother Michelle and the rest of their family in my thoughts and prayers.
I remember Private First Class Jesus Quesada, age 22, of Milwaukee, who was killed on January 28, 1969, in the Vietnam War.
On Memorial Day and throughout the year, let us always remember and be grateful for the ultimate sacrifice that these soldiers and soldiers of all wars and their families gave so that we can live a free and fruitful life here in America. Sergeant First Class Matthew Pionk, Lance Corporal Harry Timberman, Specialist Kenneth Cross, Lance Corporal Adam Van Elstein, Staff Sergeant First Class Dan Gabrielson, Staff Sergeant Jeremy Vrooman, and Sergeant Chad Allen.
Memorial Day became an officially recognized federal holiday in 1971, making this year the 48th modern observance of the holiday. Let us observe the day in a way that is meaningful. Let us continue to clean the graves of the fallen and decorate them with spring's flowers. Let us fly the stars and stripes with pride and offer a word of thanks and respect for all the fallen soldiers of our state have done for our security. Let us remember their sacrifice in the cause of freedom.
While we'll spend this Monday memorializing the fallen, we must also recommit to working for the living veterans of our state. We have so much to thank our fallen veterans for. America's unique exceptionalism is largely a result of their sacrifice. Let's reflect on those sacrifices this Memorial Day, while we also look forward and think about how we can work for our living veterans of all ages.